The Africans we call Moors were the Africans who were forcefully converted to Islam in the year 640 AD by the Arabs. When the Moors were conquered in 1492, after ruling Europe such as Spain and Portugal for over 700 years, since 711 AD, they were later used by the victorious Europeans to penetrate into Africa and enslave Africans. In the year 1517, Bartholomew de las Casas, a Catholic priest, after getting much information from the conquered Moors in Spain, advised the European monarchies to use Africans in Africa as slaves in America, since the Native Americans were weak and were dying from food poisoning, which was masterminded by Christopher Columbus and the Spanish monarchy. Now, before this time, the Portuguese under Prince Henry the Navigator around the mid-15th century have started using Africans as slaves in Portugal and Spain. Hearing this, in the year 1562, Queen Elizabeth I gave John Hawkins the ship known as Jesus of Lubeck to take Africans as slaves to America in order to replace the dying Native Americans. In fact, the first Africans used as slaves did not come from Africa, but were the conquered Moors who ruled Spain and Portugal until the year 1492. The Moors completely destroyed Africa. They were the ones who facilitated the fall of Africa today. They gave out African secret knowledge from Nubia, Egypt, and Ethiopia to the Europeans. Europeans never had any standard education. It was Africans who built and taught in the prestigious University of Salamanca and also built extra 17 universities for the Europeans. The untold truth is that the founders of Oxford and Cambridge sat on the feet of these African Moors to learn how to run a university system. It was the knowledge they got from the African Moors that they used in establishing the Oxford and Cambridge universities. The African Moors taught Europeans how to bathe by using chemicals as soap, which were invented in Egypt and Ethiopia. Even the Roman bathing system was copied from the royal household of Egypt, Ethiopia, and Nubia. The fact is that medieval Europeans, honestly speaking, bathe once a week. They don't even know how to do a normal burial ceremony until the African Moors came and taught them the basics. The African Moors also introduced the first street lights in Europe, as Europe was a dark continent, both mentally and physically. The Catholic Church was against the use of numbers, as they saw numbers as the signs of the devil. In fact, it was the Roman figure that was accepted. European kings and queens could not read and write until African female Moors started teaching them the basics of reading and writing. It was through the knowledge and wisdom of these African Moors that made Europeans to be able to enter the age of their Renaissance, of their Enlightenment, and their Industrial Revolution. We must understand that the African Moors pulled out the Europeans from their dark age and gave them the African civilization. But the Europeans used that knowledge to subdue and enslave Africans in Africa for over 400 years. Until date, we are still suffering from the mistake of these African Moors. They facilitated the fall of Africa. When the Arabs invaded North Africa, the Africans who were forcefully converted to Islam and who later became the Moors were the ones who took the Arab Islamic jihadists to every nook and cranny of North Africa, where they helped in destroying the African traditional system and spirituality, and they replaced it with the Islamic religion and Arabic language. They took the knife from their Arab slave masters and cut open the throat of their fellow Africans who refused to embrace Prophet Muhammad and Islam